Good afternoon. It's time to get spooky. Thank you for attending today's webinar on the kind of the history behind our building and what makes it so haunted. And this is kind of the perfect time of year to do stuff like this. Just kind of some fun facts about Fort Collins, which is where our headquarters is located. Colorado office runs out of here, and so it's definitely something fun to be able to kind of get everybody excited about this time of year. So we'll go ahead and jump in. Again, this is going to be a very short little webinar, just more fun, more so than anything. So which building are we talking about? So if you're familiar with the Fort Collins area, especially specifically downtown Fort Collins, you'll know that there's a lot of historic buildings down here. There's actually a ghost tour that goes on that's really, really cool. I did sit in on it once. And my understanding is they actually do a couple different tours because imagine there's a lot of buildings down here in Old Town Fort Collins. So they do have to kind of divvy it up. But the tour that we went on, unfortunately, we didn't hit our building here at Journey, but we hit a lot of other really cool buildings. And it's just insane how crazy the history is with it. And so if you are local here in Fort Collins, I really encourage you to go check out the haunted tour. It is amazing. You will learn so much. But today we are kind of focusing on just our building here. Journey headquarters building is located in historical town Fort Collins. We're in the old post office building. So a lot of people that have been native to here, a lot of people that are from here know us first and foremost as the old post office building. It has now obviously been turned into businesses. So there are, in the basement, there's Blue Agave restaurant. First floor is the Museum of Art area. And then second floor is us and then a couple other local businesses. So yeah, for reasons that we'll kind of go into later here, we are rumored to be haunted. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I will tell you, I don't like being here alone just because it does freak me out. But we have named the ghost in which we believe lives in this building, maybe one of many, but George, because why not, right? Sounds fun. So who haunts it? That's, obviously $1 million question. Fort Collins history dates back to the 1800s. The town was named so because it was originally a fort when first settled, which is kind of cool. So for those of you who have always wondered why we're Fort Collins, there you go. Originally, the town's first post office building, so this building, was constructed on the fort's first cemetery. So back in the 1860s, the plot of land that we are on right now used to be a cemetery. Unfortunately, due to poor record keeping, lack of any sort of track for that, they have no idea how many people were buried in the cemetery. And headstones were also a bit of a luxury back then. So there were a lot of graves unmarked, which leaves there to be no idea how many bodies were buried under this building. And so while some of the bodies were removed to the new cemetery after construction began, some were not located. Hence the reason we think our building's haunted. Lieutenant Baker. So the death of Lieutenant Baker, and again, history buffs, this is just something that kind of some fun facts here, but Lieutenant Baker was killed while he was trying to deliver bacon to Wyoming's Fort Halleck. How freaking funny is that, by the way? Along the way, he was killed by a group of Native Americans, and his death was evidently pretty gruesome. His body was one of those buried here in the original cemetery. So I'm thinking that maybe we need to rename our ghost Lieutenant Baker in honor of him. Although it's assumed his body was one of those removed, who knows? Maybe he is our ghost. So personal experiences, and this is funny. If you go on the ghost tour again, you'll hear a lot of these things, and people have their own stories, and it's just kind of crazy. But fortunately or unfortunately, during construction of the restaurant in the basement here, or the ground level, there were definitely some interesting things that happened. So my boyfriend is one of the or was part of the crew that did the build of the restaurant, and it was really kind of interesting, some of the stories that he heard. So Miss Candace put together this slide, and this is probably my favorite because it does kind of remind you of sitting around a campfire talking about spooky stuff. But anyways, they were a couple of the guys had to do fire watch downstairs when the building was being demoed in the restaurant area, and they funny. So they had to take shifts because on fire watch, they don't have the fire alarms turned on, which means somebody has to be here monitoring the buildings at all times. So he and a couple other guys had taken shifts. Well, he was on one of the night shifts and said goodbye to the other guy. You know, they had kind of said, hey, see you later. He had left. Well, Jake was here by himself. And so as he was here by himself, you know, and time goes on and it's dark, he started hearing a bunch of stuff, and he thought that one of the other guys had come back to mess with him. And so he kind of waited for a little while and was like, oh, funny, like whatever. Well, it really did sound like somebody was in the building with him. And so finally he called his buddy and said, why are you doing this? Like, what are you doing? And his buddy said, what are you talking about? And he said, quit messing with me. And the other guy said, I'm not messing with you, dude. I'm not even there. Like, I left a long time ago. So of course Jake's like, no way, you didn't leave. Well, in order for him to his coworker to be able to trust that, you know, hey, you're not really here messing with me, he had sent a picture of him in his house, and so Jake was like, that's creepy, right? Like, there's nobody here. So he's looking all around outside, kind of like trying to figure out like who is in here, and nobody was in there. And the lights would flicker, and there would be, you know, he would be in one area of the restaurant, and back in the other corner, you know, somebody was turning lights on and off. It was just really, really creepy. And he said that he never believed this building was haunted until that happened. And so, you know, I think it just goes to show, we actually even have the museum, a couple people at the museum have said that they've been here, you know, working at nights, and they'll hear somebody playing a piano and singing. And so, you know, they'll go outside to see, you know, is somebody outside playing on the piano that's kind of in the little courtyard next to us. Nobody was on the piano. They went back inside and they could hear the singing and the piano, and they kept hearing it from upstairs. So they had gone upstairs and nobody was up there. And so it's just stuff like that, you know, it's kind of interesting. And, you know, whoever believes what, again, if you go on that ghost tour, I swear it is definitely one of those things that makes you kind of say, huh, you know, it makes you think twice about it if you don't believe it. But anyways, that was our little claim to fame here at the reno of the restaurant downstairs. But, some fun facts. We've actually cleansed the office with sage to get rid of any bad juju, and to help any of our ghost friends find another place to hang out. This was just kind of something that you try to do to get some good juju your way. But a few of our staff are actually afraid to be left in the building. I will raise my hand. I am one of those staff. So some of our staff, though, has actually never been in the building alone because of that reason right there. There are very few and far times that I will feel comfortable being here by myself. And so it is kind of funny. I am one of those staff. But seriously, if you decide to do the Fort Collins Ghost Tour, be sure to say a special hello to George, or Lieutenant Baker, as maybe we should be calling him now. But I mean, if you haven't done it, I would so encourage you to do it because it is really fun. So anyways, I know that today's webinar was definitely not one for necessarily, a service that we have, but we do kind of feel like these are fun to do and interact with you guys in a much different way, in a different level, and not always, work stuff. So hopefully that was kind of just a fun fact and some fun information for people. If anybody has any questions, reach out to the you might have to Google it. Sorry, I was going to say reach out to the city. I'm not exactly sure which entity puts that on. There's a little shop here in the square that you can go to, and they'll give you tickets for the ghost tour. So again, if you are local, go check it out. It's pretty cool. And if you're not, do some research. Google the history behind Fort Collins and our building especially, and you'll be able to see some cool information. So we'll go ahead and wrap that up. I hope everybody has a safe and happy Halloween. And if you guys need anything at all from us, you know who to call. Have a great day, everyone.